Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice, America, I'm Zach Nanimus,
Johnny Dim, that's me.
and you have come to I think it's the 12th installment of the latest iteration of the War Pod in Space!
Where?
Why do you always
Huh?
shrug anytime I talk about what number episode this might be?
Because it's probably wrong.
I actually, I think I've been weirdly
You
correct.
have been in the past, but I think you said like episode 5 or 6, like 3 times in a row.
Yeah, that was to cover
Oh, okay.
bases. Some people are OCD about only watching the fifth episode of things, and I'm trying to cater to that demographic. I didn't realize that you hate people with OCD.
I have OCD.
Yeah, and you hate
No,
yourself.
that's accurate. I have a question.
Sure.
We've started and stopped this show 3 or 4 times. Like
Well,
Warpod. The Warpod
okay.
has different iterations.
Yes.
Um, we are in Warpod in space. What
Mm-hmm.
comes after that? When we
Um,
inevitably go on hiatus again and then come back, what is it then?
we're pod in time.
You've got this all
Yeah.
planned out, don't you?
I mean, do you not remember how good Death of Dim was?
I think it's one of
I worked hard on Death of Dim.
I know it's one of the crimes of the internet. It's one of the it's not a crime. It's one of the great tragedies of the internet that more people have not heard that.
Hmm. Death of Dim. For those of you who don't know, I suggest you go back. I don't even know where to find it. It's got to be somewhere.
It may not. May not be anywhere. I don't
Oh,
really know.
uh, Johnny left the show basically because his wife didn't like him doing the show.
Was that why? I
Uh,
don't even remember why.
you wanted to take more
Yeah.
time. Like you were. The thing you were also in school, and like this was a big part of your schedule,
Hmm.
and so you were like, hey, find a bunch of guests because I'm not doing it for a month.
Hmm.
Um, and so that became a storyline. You are moving in slow motion. Okay.
Oh God.
That became a storyline called Death of Dim,
Hmm.
where you die and are resurrected. And that's why you're not in any of those episodes.
Hmm.
Uh, and my
And
favorite
then I
thing,
get resurrected.
yeah,
Yeah.
my favorite thing is that we had a bunch of guests on, and I would I would invite them onto the show, and not really tell them what's going on. And they'd be like, "Oh, by the way, we're in the middle of a storyline, and so I have this premise for our two characters to interact,
Hmm.
and you just do your best, whatever you, however you want to take this. We're headed to this destination. Help me get us there."
There were
Um,
so many good surprises.
by far, the best was Richard
Oh
Lanius.
yeah, we talk about that all the time. Yeah, if you've listened to us before, there's a
Richard,
good chance you've heard us talk about this before.
did we talk about it a lot on the show?
We've mentioned it at least 3 or 4 times.
No, Richard Lanius is the creator of I mean, it's Eldritch horror
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I was gonna
Arkham
Arkham
horrors.
Horror.
Yeah, he's the creator of that and another excellent board game called Run Fight or Die.
Yeah.
Um, and it turns out he was the best one
Because
by
he's DM'd before.
well, DMing is his passion.
Right.
He created Arkham Horror because because he loved Call of Cthulhu and he wanted a way to play it with himself.
Yep.
He wanted to give a board game that put him back in that world. um, but it's funny that we talk about the death and return of anyone, not only because Easter's coming up, but also because of Superman.
That was a great segue.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Uh, so the Snyder Cut came out,
Okay, hold
Johnny.
on. Give me just a few more seconds to
Okay.
live in this world before I hear any of your bullshit about this movie.
What do you mean?
I'm anticipating because every time I love something, generally you have something negative to say. And Snyder Cut was I'm just gonna I mean cut right to it. It's one of my favorite movies now. Like I absolutely loved that movie. It took
Okay.
me 3 days to watch it, but I loved that movie so much.
Here's the thing about the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
It helped me to understand you. I get it. I
Okay.
really do.
All right.
Uh,
Interesting.
I hate the Snyder Cut.
Oh my god.
I hate it. And here's the deal. I love Justice League.
Yes.
That's a great
We both
movie.
liked it.
We have beaming reviews out online right now talking about that
Yeah,
movie.
both of us talked about how it's a great representation of a comic book movie. It's
Mhm.
very good at that. It personifies that.
And it's absolutely my favorite thing is that with the story that they were trying to do and the way they decided to tell it and the scope that they decided to tell it in, it's absolutely fearless.
Yeah.
It's we're gonna do the weird Frank Miller New God stuff.
Right.
We're gonna get into where DC Comics gets very very strange. Um, but of course, oh, excuse me. Um, of course, Thanos kind of feels that way, and so maybe that's not as big of a like a leap um, as
You saying that because
like when they made the first
Marvel's
Green Lantern
doing
movie, they were afraid to like pull out Parallax.
you saying because Marvel's doing something similar?
Mar No, it's well, yeah, yes and no, because Marvel is doing their weird cosmic stuff.
Mm,
And the apocalypse, dark side, and all that. This all fits into the weird cosmic
right.
stuff. It's different. It's different in many
Hmm.
ways, but it's definitely unusual. It's also incredibly similar in many ways.
Yeah.
Um, but John,
Yeah. Let's get into it.
um, what? Yeah, okay. So why don't you tell me why you like it, and I'll tell you wrong. Just
Here's something I really wish I had time to do before doing this episode. Is I really wanted to go back and watch the.
oh, sorry, you were
Okay.
frozen for me.
Um, I think we're okay. I think the connection from me to you is not great, but the recording looks good. Um,
I still didn't hear you contextualize your comment.
yeah. I'm getting there. Um, so
Okay.
what I wish I had time to do was go back and watch the original Justice League. Um, so I could have a better idea of what was different because there's a lot of stuff that felt very fresh and very new in Snyder Cut. All the stuff with the Flash I felt like was very light in the original Justice League, and Cyborg's backstory was fleshed out more in Snyder Cut for sure. I knew that was right. And then
Hmm.
the stuff at the end. These are the main beats. These are the main things that I really like about it. And then we can just dismantle them one by one. But I also really like the ending more um, in Snyder Cut because I always felt like even though I did like Justice League the original, um, I felt like it was cut really short. I felt like Superman comes back, he beats the crap out of uh, Steppenwolf,
Steppenwolf.
and then it's over. And I felt like that was a little rushed. Like it was just like,
Hmm.
oh, the savior's here, it's over. Where this thing had the whole thing with the Flash and he had to reverse time, and which I love that it sets up what the Speed Force does eventually. Um, and I
Hmm.
can't wait to see the Flash movie because I feel like they're setting up some great stuff. Um, I felt like the epilogue stuff felt a little much,
Which
just all
part?
of it. It
Because there's
right.
three epilogues.
The only one that I felt was a little bit awkward was the Nightmare one. That felt a little weird. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
the dialogue in that one, I was like, I know it's a dream. I know that it's not real, but the dialogue
Uh-huh.
was tacky. Um,
The dialogue was par for the course.
oh yeah, you hear Batman talk about his feelings real
Yeah,
often.
just the biggest problem with this movie, by far, is that there are no solid, fresh ideas about how to tell us what's going on. It is all right on the surface. There was a war. Who was there? The Atlanteans, the Themyscirans, and the Warriors of Men. Who were they fighting? They were fighting Darkseid and his Apocalypse. Why were they fighting? Because that's what they do. It was and then you go to like the cyborg stuff with Silas explaining to him his new abilities, which honestly I think it's too much too
Hmm.
fast
For a 4 hour movie,
for Cyborg. There's no,
for a 4 hour
huh?
movie, you thought they got to it?
No, I mean for the cyborg character. Cyborg
Right.
grows into this into this manipulator of computers and world nets and stuff like that. And you contrast him with someone like the Flash, who very clearly does not know the limitations of his abilities and is almost afraid of them
Yeah,
in many
for
ways.
good reason.
Um, yeah, and so I feel like I'm worried that there's. I mean, I don't think they're going to try anything with these characters again. But I'm afraid they don't have anywhere to go. Um, but you look at the introduction of his powers, and it's like, oh, you're gonna be able to give people money and fire rockets, and like it felt like a list that you're given in video games when you level up. It's like you've now unlocked rockets and money
Which
manipulation and this,
which I
that, and the other.
find fine for his character because he is essentially a machine. He is a like a video game. He's he's been built with the power of the mother box. Like,
It's not fine for any movie. They did it in the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
yeah, but
movie, and it sucked
there's
there too. You know, you have to have some poetry to the way you give exposition.
yeah.
Because if there's no good ideas, you feel like you're reading a Wikipedia page. That's the biggest problem, and
Hmm.
the problem is there in Justice League, the original. I guess we'll call
They
it
call
what they
yeah,
the
the
Justice
Justice League.
League.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Justice League. That problem is half as long,
that's
so
right.
there's not as
That's
much of
right.
that to
And
do.
I mean, when you have a problem like that, and then you make an hour that was 2 hours, and then you make it 4 hours, yeah, there's gonna be more of it. So the problem's gonna seem bigger. Um,
Yeah,
that's I see where you're coming from, but it did not bother me that much.
I'll contrast this. I'll contrast this with something from
Yeah.
Justice League that was great, and it's still exposition. Um, but there's a moment that they cut from this where um, uh, what is it? Aquaman. Aquaman has so far been unflappable. Nothing phases him. He's not invested in the other characters. He's just here to do a job, and begrudgingly so. Um, until they're about to go to Russia, and then he starts to bro out with everybody and open up about himself to the point where he starts crying. And that's when he realizes that the lasso of truth is hung around his foot
Yeah.
on accident. Okay, it's just telling us about the character, but simultaneously they're adding layers to that character, and it ends with a great punchline. That's a good idea for giving us
I would have been
exposition,
fine.
and that's what all the other
Right.
moments
I
were
would have been fine with
missing.
him keeping that, but what I fear is that it was cut just because of the grudge that I'm sure Zack Snyder has against Joss Whedon. Um,
Well, this is like I don't think they wanted Joss Whedon's name
oh
on
no,
this,
not at
and if
all.
they kept any of his reshoots, if they kept any of his reshoots, then they'd
Right.
have to.
Right. And there's probably more to that than just not wanting to give him any credit. Um, with all the stuff that's going on in the background with Joss Whedon right now.
I actually don't know anything about the controversy. I know that people are
What's
angry at
come
Joss
out? I'll
Whedon.
just give you the because I don't know every detail. I'm going to give you the nutshell version. Essentially, he was really shitty to a lot of people. What his started, I think the kind of the everyone else coming out about how shitty he is fuck. I always forget his name. It's the guy who played Cyborg. Um, he actually was the first to come out and say Joss Whedon treated me like crap. And there's actually an entire investigation that WB has started because of him, with these accusations,
Hmm.
and a lot of these people have come out about previous projects with Joss Whedon. And there's one actress that was like, there was a rule on set. I think this was somebody on Buffy. I think. Um,
Wasn't it
yeah,
Buffy?
there was a rule. I wish I knew the rest of the details, but it was, he apparently was not allowed to be in the same room alone with this other actress, and like that's a weird thing, right? It's really eyebrow raising. Anyway, enough about Joss Whedon. Essentially, he is. And
Okay.
I just read something today that said he's pretty much blacklisted right now in Hollywood. But
Okay.
anyway, so I only say that to say that there's probably a little bit more motivation to keep his name off of any of this stuff, other than Zack Snyder's. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think there's a little more politics involved.
Uh-huh.
But either way, I understand why they took that scene out. But I did like that scene. That was a good scene.
Hmm. The thing is that some of the some of the things they had to change as a result are some of the things that make the movie make the Snyder cut
Hmm.
extremely weak. Especially with that
Yeah,
first scene. The first scene in Justice League is so
remind me of what it
interesting,
is.
and it's found footage or cell phone footage
Oh
of somebody of a
yeah,
kid
Superman.
interviewing
That's right.
Superman.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
And the first scene of this one was what?
Is just a recap of Batman versus Superman. Basically, a recap.
I'm blanking. I don't even remember what happened.
It's lots of it's that thing where it's like still photos, but we have computers now, so we can move around inside of a still photo, and it's like Superman dying,
Right.
and Batman shooting somebody, and then the screams travel all the way
That's
back to
right.
Gotham.
That's right. Excuse me.
Hmm.
I thought that was a little strange. Like, what was his death actually triggering? Because it seemed like it triggered a bunch of events. Like, once he died, the scream like got everywhere, and everyone was just like, "Well, the Superman's dead, so shit's gonna go down now." Like that. The theory was,
At one point,
I was gonna say, because I remember later in the movie they
they're
talk about how. Wait, am I talking over you, or are you talking over me? Okay.
go ahead.
I feel like there's probably a delay. Um, but anyway, what I was just gonna say was I remember them saying in the movie like Darkseid didn't come back to Earth, or Steppenwolf didn't, or something, because they knew Superman was still alive.
It was the mother boxes. That's what I was going to
That's
say.
what it
The
was.
mother
Yeah.
boxes somehow intuit
Right.
that they're not going to be able to handle Superman,
Hmm.
and so there's no point. Even though earlier in the movie they're like the mother boxes don't think in terms of life and death; they think in terms of change. These are just machines, and and they do the bidding of their master. So the mother boxes aren't afraid of anything, but they're also afraid of Superman.
Yeah, the mother boxes are kind of a gray area. Like no one knows exactly what's going on in there.
And we had so much time to explain them because of the character Desaad, um,
Hmm.
who it comes out of this obelisk to talk. Which, by the way, isn't that the obelisk they're keeping the mother boxes in? Is he not disrupting that process by communicating this way?
Are the mother boxes helping create that facade? You think?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Um, but we get three individual, fully CG scenes of Steppenwolf standing in front of an obelisk that becomes the sod, and then they talk.
Yes.
Three identical scenes that are 100% CG.
Uh huh.
So they could have done anything they wanted, but they did that. And I hated it.
What would you have them do?
Something different. Okay, good example in Star Wars, in Empire Strikes Back. There's lots of times that people have to have meetings with Darth Vader.
Hmm.
They don't just show up at his office. There's one where he talks to the Emperor and he's a tremendous hologram. There's another one that's a little bit more that's a little bit more by the numbers. Vader's obviously doing something in his office, and then there's another one where he's in his special breathing pod. And so there's some dynamics to the visual. And so like by the third time we visited Assad, I was just done. Absolutely
I was
done.
like, I remember being on the third one, being like, not on the edge of my seat, but anticipating like, oh, what are they gonna talk about now? And that's when they
Well,
reveal Darkseid.
yeah,
Yeah,
of course he's coming. That's
yeah.
but that's another gripe. Well, hold on. Okay, we'll address yours one at a time. What was the next thing you liked?
Oh shit, I don't remember. I listed a few things.
You did. We talked about the beginning. So the second thing,
Well, I talked about how I remember we didn't address how I prefer this ending because I felt like in the first one, Superman shows up and then it's just over.
I can agree.
Okay.
I can actually agree there, because the Justice ending is this is very Jack Black, isn't it? Me and the Nusties. We're gonna
Yes.
me and the Nusties are gonna go to the never-ending story. Um, no,
Uh,
so at the end of Justice, there's this thing where like it's beginning to terraform everything,
yeah.
and so they have to save this one Russian family. Uh,
Was that in the first one?
yeah,
That was not in this one at all.
no, no, none of
I'm
that's
so
there.
glad.
Although,
I almost forgot about that.
although Superman showing up in his black costume,
Which is fine.
which is
You shut your
stupid.
mouth. It's not stupid.
Like he was just about to kill Diana, and Superman it hits Superman, and he looks at him with just a shit-eating grin. He's like, "Not impressed." Shut up.
He's Superman. He can have that kind of an
Super
ego.
No, no, Superman can't have that kind of ego. That's kind of his entire character. Is that he
Give him a
lives without
break.
one.
He just came back from the dead.
Okay.
He's just happy to be. He's just happy to be alive.
um so but yeah, that whole conflict made a lot more sense than what became a relatively like low low stakes kind of
Hmm.
weird thing for the Justice League to do. Um yeah, I don't remember it perfectly, but I remember that it was strange.
Yeah, I just
Uh
remember it being like it just like kind of like Superman showed up and it was just like it was over and I was like, oh, that was really quick. Like Steppenwolf still didn't even put up a fight in the first one at all.
did they change Steppenwolf's armor? Because he looked a lot like I don't remember being interested in Steppenwolf at all.
Oh yeah,
And then in this one, he at least had really cool armor.
absolutely. That was one of the first images
Okay.
that Zack Snyder leaked when he was working on the Snyder Cut. He leaked what Steppenwolf looked like, and people were like, "Oh shit, we're in for something."
We're for we're in for an idea.
Yeah,
This is a good visual
it was,
idea.
and I liked how I kept looking at it and how it moved, and how it like when I think it was when he got shot with the arrows, like it cut the arrows off, like it did a really cool stuff. I liked it.
Hmm. I did think it was weird that like so it's retractable.
Uh,
I don't know what it is in its smallest form.
mhm.
I'm gonna guess a dance belt. Um, but like as soon as he sees Darkseid, he like takes his shirt off.
Yeah, is that what he did?
Maybe that's a rule. Is like no one shall speak to Darkseid unless I can see their nips.
I think he just took. I think he just took. I think it just got off of his head, right? It went
No,
all the
no,
way to his
no.
belt
You,
or his
I
waist.
don't know how it cuts the frames cut off at his waist.
Oh.
So I don't know. He may have got naked. um, but yeah, I can agree. The ending, the conflict resolution
Yeah.
is stronger.
I got something else that you probably will agree with me with. Did
Okay.
you even notice the CG mustache that was removed on Superman?
I thought that was only for I thought that was only for the cell phone footage part.
No. No, 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 no. I think when he's in the field, when he's in the farm.
No,
I'm pretty
that
sure
all. I thought it was only for reshoots.
was that I thought that was a reshoot. I'm gonna go back and watch it then because I thought that was one of them. But either way, there's no CG mustache removal, so
Well, I mean, they proved almost immediately that that could have been handled a lot
oh
better.
yeah, because there was like an amateur like CG guy that did
Yeah,
it.
a fan
Yeah,
working with a team of
right,
one on on like a MacBook Pro or
right.
something. Here's something um, that I'm hoping, I'm thinking, but I'm not sure that you'll agree with me
Let's
on.
see.
everything having to do with the Martian Manhunter was stupid.
It felt a little obtuse, and it felt
Hmm.
a little tagged on, but I actually didn't mind it that much.
Why would John take time out of his day to go have girl talk with Lois Lane,
Just so you can
pretending to be Ma
just so you
Kent?
know that he's there. It's for the audience.
I don't think that was ever
Yeah.
intended. I think that scene was exactly what it was supposed to be. And then they were like, "Yeah, we can CG this actress long enough to make them the Martian Manhunter.
I'll agree
That's
that
we
the
can."
scene at the end with Martian Manhunter was better than the first
Uh,
one. The first one didn't make any sense. That one I was just kind of like,
this
it's just they're just trying to tell us that he's there, and I'm like,
second one,
what?
second one makes
No,
less
it
sense.
doesn't.
Second one makes a
He
lot
gi-
less sense.
he basically was like giving a nod to Bruce and be like, hey, you did good, bro, and I'm here if you need me in the future.
Bruce did need him. He needed him in Russia,
Now that's a fair point.
helping to fight the bad
That's a
guys.
but did Martian Manhunter know?
Yes, he knows everything. He's a
Is he?
psychic.
I don't know that much about
Yes,
Martian Manhunter.
he basically has every
Well then,
power, and
why wasn't he
pyrophobia.
there? That's a
Yeah.
good question actually.
Here the thing is that I really hate it when we retell a story and we do it worse.
Yeah, but it
Um,
wasn't
and
worse. If anything, it was
uh,
at the worst. This was a lateral move. At the very
the
worst.
the best meeting, the penultimate meeting between Martian Manhunter, an initial contact between Martian Manhunter and Bruce Wayne was already written by Darwin Cook, and it was the best thing ever. This is at a point when Batman, all superheroes are new. And Batman is trying to learn everything he can about everybody. And of course, his mind jumps to how do I kill these
Hmm.
people? Um, and so he's been stalking Martian Manhunter for a while, long enough to learn about his pyrophobia. Um, and he says, there's a man in Metropolis. He breaks into the Martian Manhunter's apartment just to intimidate him and tell him that he's being watched. And he's like, "There's a man in Metropolis who can lift a city bus. I spent $3 million on a rock to kill him. With you, all I need is a book of matches."
Nice.
And then he disappears.
That
Perfect.
is perfect.
In this one, Martian Manhunter goes to the lake house,
The only
and that's it.
my only argument against that scene, because I would love to see that scene in the movie, except the problem is he already like him going after another alien like he did Superman and Batman vs Superman. That would feel overplayed. It would feel like, all right, calm down already, cool it, Batman. Like that would feel a little much for me.
uh, you know what? It would have made a much better bonus sequence than the nightmare sequence. Like we should have done all that instead of the nightmare sequence.
You're probably right.
Because oh my god, I was watching it and I thought I missed a whole movie. Like what was anybody talking about?
Yeah, I know you're right. It probably would have been better.
Why is Batman wearing a scarf?
Why not?
Because he's in a rubber
You
bat
talk
suit.
about in the nightmare scene. Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
nightmare scene was a little much.
Hmm.
That was a bit much.
Just
But
clunky and weird.
with all the flaws there are, which
Uh-huh.
I don't think are very many, and the ones that I do admit, I don't. It did not take enough away from it for me to not love this movie. Um, One of the things I did not mention yet, one of the things that really, this is a very personal thing to me. Like I don't expect you to even think twice about this, but I love long epic movies when
I know that.
when they're good. And like this, I haven't had an experience like this since Lord of the Rings. Like
Hmm.
just 4 hours of just DC awesomeness. Um, and I don't know, I love that aspect of it a lot because I didn't think there was that many pitfalls and there was not that many things that they did wrong. A lot of stuff that was added, I loved. I thought they added a lot of good character building elements. You got to hear more from uh, a little bit more from the Flash and a little bit more from Cyborg. Um, I'll be honest though, the Wonder Woman thing, her first scene when she's trying to take out those terrorists, is it is it is it just me or was that slightly different? And
Everything about Wonder Woman is different because I'm pretty
because I
sure.
thought they linked
Um,
the terrorist group to Steppenwolf or the Mother Boxes.
you know what? You might
I
be
thought they
right.
did.
My thematically, I thought it was different because you never hear the Wonder Woman theme.
That's true. That's true.
That-
Yeah, yeah. Which gets obnoxious the more you hear it.
The thing is that what they play instead is this kind of like this almost like Mediterranean or Middle Eastern sounding clip of this woman singing. And they just do it over every time she does anything. Every time she does anything, it's the same sound clip over and
I
over
didn't
and
hear it
over.
much. I was so focused on the visuals, I was not paying attention because I kept trying to.
Mhm.
Because I really couldn't remember what the connection was between the terrorists and the rest of the movie. So I was sitting there just paying attention, being like, "Okay, what is their deal?" And then they just say
I could
that they're just some stupid terrorist organization and something about the end of the world, and then that's it. And I'm like, there was something more, I think, in the Joss Whedon version.
that I think you were right. I think you're right. I'm
I'm gonna
not
go back
sure
and
though.
watch it, and we can talk about this more in the next episode to compare the two
Okay.
because there's some stuff I'm gonna take notes about because something was up with those guys. It just seemed like a weird, like you could just taken that whole scene out. They did not need to be there.
It was a day in the life kind of thing. It was like Wonder Woman's here
Right.
too. Because she's the Batman doesn't need an origin story because he's the central
Hmm.
character.
But he was also in the previous
Uh,
movie. Yeah.
right. But Wonder Woman doesn't have time and doesn't need an origin story or very much character growth
Hmm.
whatsoever. Um, Whereas Superman has large things that happen
Hmm.
to him. Cyborg has large things that happen to him. Barry has large things that happen to him. But Wonder Woman's just kind of there.
Are you
And
are you curious at all if this goes if they can decide to continue with these characters, with these actors, and with Zack Snyder? Are you curious at all where it's going to go?
uh, I mean, I know where I hope it goes.
Okay. So there's something there to look
Um,
forward to. It possibly to
I
anticipate.
mean, hasn't everyone already said no?
I don't think that's official because I've read some headlines and stuff that are leaning towards a possibility if the fans want it enough, which is exactly what happened with this movie. Um,
Mhm.
but the Flash is still coming out.
And it needs
Yeah.
to, because that's the only way to really right this ship. And we've talked about this a few times, but it was Jeremy's idea, that they should just make a live action Flashpoint
Hmm.
Paradox.
Hmm.
And then so by the time we've put the universe back together, all the actors can be different.
Absolutely no, and then they need to do something with the different what is it, dimensions, realities, whatever.
While keeping this Barry
Yeah.
Allen because he's by far the best part of
Oh
of
yeah,
the
he
Justice
was
League.
great. He was absolutely great.
Yeah.
Um,
Except for, and we were talking about how cool it is that he used the Speed Force and turned back time. That speech that he gives while doing so, appalling, insufferable.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't take it.
I don't remember exactly what he said.
He's like, Dad,
Oh, that's right.
wherever you
That's
are,
right.
I just wanted you to know that your boy was one of them.
Right.
Best of the
Yeah.
best. Look,
It's a
Dad,
little yeah, it's a little cheesy.
hands.
It's a little cheesy.
But here is what I learned. Here's an important lesson that came from all of
Yes.
this. I learned why people like you like movies like this. And it's because we enjoy things in a fundamentally different way.
That's probably true.
Because people who like stories like this, they are fascinated and get swept up in the scope
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
This movie is about
Oh
grandeur.
yeah.
It is about universe destroying
Hmm.
stakes. It is about big fight scenes with the most powerful warriors in the universe. It is it's Jack Kirby and his new
Right.
gods. You know, it's big. Um, and like that's the kind of stuff where it's like, oh, in this movie, Superman has to punch the whole universe. I'd be like, okay, what is Jimmy up to? Are he and Jimmy still good? Like, where are his friends and family in the middle of all?
Sure, absolutely.
Like, I love the artistry and the nuance and the little
Hmm.
touches that tip this into the net, and those larger ideas don't impress
Sure.
me. Um, and so that's what I learned is that this movie is appealing to a type of moviegoer.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't get it.
I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not just. I don't enjoy these kinds of movies, but when a good one like this comes along, I am impressed. Um, because not only is it just the scope of this, but it's like I feel like a lot of a lot of movie makers try to make something at this on this scope, and they just don't. They just fail. I thought not just the storytelling, but the actual visuals of the whole thing. I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this. Like the way that the Flash, the effect when he runs, with the lightning and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. I thought that Cyborg was probably the. I was just gonna say how impressed I was with Cyborg, but I think he probably showed actually the most cracks as far as like the CG went.
I never liked his redesign
It
for this.
looked there's something very stiff about the way he moves sometimes.
See, I thought he was overly organic. I wanted bigger plates on him that look like more recognizable pieces
Well,
of
I think it might be
technology.
two sides of the same coin on that because maybe it was just it's like almost you had to ask that question like is he organic or not, like it didn't feel right sometimes, it just didn't flow
Hmm.
right. um the actor did fine. I thought that he put a lot into that role, but yeah, just I mean just the because the detail to a lot of the visuals too, like with their outfits and stuff. um I didn't feel like there's a lot of weak points in the visuals of the whole thing. There's a lot of visual storytelling in this I really like.
I to put a finer point on the way we enjoy the movie. Um, tell me your absolute favorite scene
Of this movie,
of this Snyder cut.
it's gonna be hard. It would take a lot more analysis to give you like a number one, but one that really stuck with me. Um, oh man, now I'm remembering other ones. Uh, we'll go with
The part where Batman dances on the table to tequila. Yes, that was my
yeah, that's
favorite
very
as
good.
well. So we both agree. 10 out of 10.
When I keep talking about the Flash, because I really was impressed with a lot of the effects that they did with Flash. I like the ending when he's reversing time. I thought that was a really epic
Hmm.
moment. The first one that popped in my head when you asked that question though was actually the end when they remove Steppenwolf's head and send it through the portal, and it just falls on the floor right there in front of
Yeah,
Darkseid.
that that's a big
Yes,
romantic
I love that one.
scene. And so like that one doesn't surprise me. I thought it was going to be, and the fact that Barry Allen literally reversing time and saving the entire universe. That's a pretty big scene. Um, my favorite scene is when Alfred and Wonder Woman are making tea.
That's a good scene. That is a good scene.
It's my
But
favorite
but that
scene. I was in love with
but that
it.
you're right. That it kind of illustrates how differently we watch this movie. But that is a good scene. I did appreciate that one.
Yeah. Because we've all had that
Yeah.
moment where somebody is doing something, it'll work, but it's not
Right. It's
right.
not how we do it.
And he
Yeah.
can't, and what I love the nuance is like, oh no, no, Miss Diana, I'll do the tea. I'm the butler after
Hmm.
all. But it's not that. It's that I'm afraid you'll make it
Right.
wrong. And so he can't divorce himself from the process, and everything about it is so cute.
Aside from that scene, I really didn't feel like he was believable as Alfred.
I never liked Jeremy Irons
It
as
doesn't feel
Alfred.
right.
He doesn't feel
He
like
doesn't feel like a
Alfred.
butler.
Yeah, and that's like I get that, and that's
He
kind of
seems
the
more like Bruce Wayne's friend that he lives with him or whatever. Like
right, and but that's true of their relationship, but it's never on the surface for
right.
them.
There's a lot of pomp
Um,
and circumstance with Alfred. Not pomp and circumstance, but there's
eh,
that's the wrong phrase. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. um, Due diligence,
No.
um, decorum.
Decorum's probably the closest we're gonna get. There's a lot
Okay,
of it's just not the way things are done type of thing with Alfred. He just has a
right.
very proper way of doing things. Yeah.
Hmm. And I think in when it comes down to what I really don't like about this movie, I think that you can look at Alfred and recognize a lot of the things that I don't like about this
Sure.
movie, and it's because this is very obviously catering to people that like to see the heroes in a darker tone and in a more serious light. And Alfred, you've gotta bump him up as far as bravado
Right.
is concerned in order to match Batman, or else you kind of feel like you're demeaning him or undercutting him or making him silly. Um, and that's my problem with the whole movie is that this is trying real hard to be Gone with the Wind, um, and it's about Batman,
Yeah.
you know,
Um.
and bat superheroes are inherently silly, and this doesn't seem to recognize that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I think Jack is awake, so I gotta get going. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. So so let's assume that because there's no other way to do it, Flashpoint Paradox has to
Yeah.
happen. Okay? It has to happen. What is the thing that absolutely must be included from the comic books that you're afraid they won't?
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't read Flashpoint. I just know that there was a lot of crossover. Um.
Okay, what would you add? Just your wish list. Anything can happen in the Flashpoint Paradox, so just go nuts.
I just think it needs to. I don't know. I mean, as long as they tactfully incorporate all the new Batman and Jokers and all the different stuff, and even open up avenues for more of that. As long as they do that gracefully, then I'm good.
Okay. I say Matter Girl absolutely has to have her fanny pack of juice boxes.
Okay.
It's
All
got to
right.
happen. No two ways
Fair
about
enough.
it. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for sticking around to the very, very end. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this thing on Facebook. It really helps us out a lot. And we're gonna have more shows coming out later in the month, so don't you worry about that. And on that